Time now is 9:30 in the morning on March the 12th. We'll begin the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As a reminder, these meetings are recorded thanks to WQLN, and they are available on Spectrum Channel 1024 and also on the YouTube channel for Millcreek Township Supervisors, and are closed caption available. All you have to do is click on that feature if you want closed captioning. We'll move on to item number 3, public comment on agenda items other than development or rezoning applications. On our agenda, are there any items other than planning or rezoning matters that anybody would like to speak on? Okay, noting none, we'll move on to item number 4. Approval of the minutes. We have the minutes from our previous meeting. Any additions, corrections that we need to make on that? If none, I'll call for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 5 is approval of the bills. Do we have any questions, comments regarding the bills? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
No, I'll make a motion to approve paying the bills.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 6, capital budget amendment request. And this comes from the Parks and Recreation for the garbage truck. Mr. Zaheski.
Yes, when the capital budget was put together, we had budgeted $96,305 for the garbage truck, although it's not your traditional garbage truck, but it's for picking up trash in the parks. When quoted, it came in at $92,625, leaving a surplus of $3,680, which I would recommend that we keep for reserve in case other items come in over budget down the road.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board?
So the amendment is to shift the $3,000
$680 to
into a
reserve.
reserve line item?
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I will second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Our next item is item number 7, bids and quotations, a garbage truck purchase from the Parks and Recreation Department. Give me just 1 second, if you will. I need to pull this up. I was having technical difficulty for a second. This comes from the Parks and Recreation Department to Ashley Marsteller, Director. You have that handy there, Jim.
Yes.
Can you pull it up for me there? Yeah, let me see that there. Okay. Our request is the purchase of a truck with a refuse body fitted to it. The truck will be a Ford F-250 purchase from TriStar Motors under CoStar contract number 025-246. The refuse body will be purchased from Stevenson Equipment under CoStar contract 025021. The approximate totals will be for the truck $42,730. The refuse body is $49,895 for a total price of $82,625. Recommendation of Parks Director and Joe Yasser of Streets or Garage Foreman to proceed with the purchase of the truck and body under the attachment of the CoStar's contract. This was a budgeted item in the Parks Department capital budget. It is recommended for replace last year by Joe Yatzer as the current truck has reached its final life. The truck is used to collect garbage and recycling within our parks, fields, and pools. So with that said, I'll make a motion for that purchase there. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Next item, safety T-shirts. Mr. Morgan.
Gentlemen, we went out for quotes for our T-shirts, it's our safety shirts for our laborers and other staff. We solicited from 7 different local firms, sending out email requests for quotes. We received 2 responses, one from Creative Imprints and one from Silkscreen Unlimited. We did request 2 different quote totals, one for 525 units and one for 1,050 units, to see if there'd be a cost savings if we ordered essentially 2 years worth of shirts instead of 1. The quotes received from Creative Imprints was $2,226.95 for 525 units, $4,127.90 for 1,050 units, which would be a 7.32% savings for the kind of the double order. Silkscreen Unlimited was $2,381.50 for the 525 units, and $4,447.60 for the 1,050 units, which would have been a 6.6% savings, but is still a greater cost than the Creative Imprints quote. I would recommend that we approve the quote from Creative Imprints for 1,050 units at a cost of $4,127.90.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay, do I hear a second on, you made that in the form of a motion, right?
I would move
Okay.
that we
Okay. Do I hear a
select
second
Creative
on that?
Imprints.
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes on that. Okay, item number 8, advanced disposal of Western Pennsylvania, their presentation. Mr. Ed Yonner.
Okay, to give you folks a handout?
Oh, sure, yep.
Thanks, Ed.
Okay, thank you. Yes, if you would, please.
Good morning. Thanks for your time this morning. I greatly appreciate it, and thank you, Mark, for the invitation today. I'm here today to talk about our waste and refuse collection program for Millcreek Township, and I'm really pleased to report that the recycling program continues to be a very big success. Really going well. Our recycling menu has continued to offer the largest variety of recycling collection available in Erie County, and the participation rates are excellent. We are averaging on an annual basis almost 4,800 tons of recycling material, which is really big league. I would say in general, as a population per housing unit, it's excellent, and really top notch. So participation rate is excellent. All of the recycling that we collect in Millcreek Township is called single stream. So it enables the residents to mix all of the recycling materials together. We pick them up at the curb in one container. And that really makes the recycling process easier for the residents. And the requirements for the program are specifically single stream for Millcreek Township at your request, which is excellent because it does provide the easiest mode of recycling for the resident. And I think that has a lot to do with the high participation rates as well. So very, very good on that end. One of the things that's happening in the recycling industry is the processing cost. And that's the cost to take that material after it arrives at the recycling centers, sort it by material type, and then get it ready for sale. That processing cost has really increased. And we have a very good, solid processor at Buffalo Recycling. They have proven to be highly reliable and have no limitations on the recycling menu. They haven't deleted any items from the recycling menu. The current trend is many of the recycling processors are actually limiting items. They're removing things such as glass, removing certain plastics from the recycling item. So those things would now end up in the garbage instead of being recycled. Buffalo Recycling has continued to offer all the materials that we started with the contract. So it's been very solid. Participation has been very good. One of the things that we've experienced, we have experienced rate increases since we began our contract back on April 1st, 2017. When we started with Buffalo Recycling, we were paying them $5 per ton for the processing fees. Along the way, we did get a rate increase by $5 a ton back in February 1st, 2019. And that actually was after a price increase of $10 a ton back in May of 2018. So since we've started, we had a price increase of $10 in May of 2018. And we had a price increase of $5 February 1st, 2019. So we actually absorbed the rate increase of $10 in 2018 without notification to the township, because it wasn't going to affect the rates of the residents. We were able to absorb the cost without a rate increase. But now we're looking at this other $5 rate increase, and it is not as manageable as the first increase was. So what I'm requesting today is if you would please consider a rate increase to cover the processing cost increases that we've received from Buffalo Recycling. And that would average out to 24 cents per month is our request per resident. And that would happen April the 1st. And that is really the average of all the increases that we've had. This would not affect our per bag customers. Right now we have several, 600-700 customers that are pay as you go, meaning they buy a bag which is prepaid at the township building. They place the bag at the curb for collection. We pick up the bag along with any recycled materials that the resident has as well. We pick it up at no cost. Our increase obviously would not affect the pay-as-you-throw customers. It would only affect the curbside customers. I apologize for the request. I hope you feel it might be appropriate, but that's why I'm here today, to discuss it, answer questions, provide more insight if you have questions.
Ed, I want to make sure I'm understanding. You said that's 4,800 tons per year that Millcreek generates of recycle?
That is correct.
Oh, that's a lot. Okay. So you're looking at the increase that you had in May of $10, May of last year, that is,
Correct.
and that's per ton?
That was per ton.
And then there was just another increase of $5 back in February, about a month ago.
That's correct.
Okay.
So since the contract started, the actual pricing or our rate increase would have averaged 36 cents per residential unit.
Okay.
What we're asking you folks to do is to meet us in the middle,
Okay.
which would be 24 cents.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions or comments? Mr. Shaw, anything?
Mr. Yonner,
Well,
I'm sorry.
My only comment is it's not quite in the middle. You actually want us to cover 2/3 of it.
Pardon me?
It's not quite in the middle. It's actually, what, almost 2/3?
Yeah, what I was trying to do is take the 12 and the 36 and kind of get in the middle of those two.
Okay.
The 12-cent increase that we had per unit, first increase, and then the second increase, which would have been up to 24 cents,
Yeah.
an additional 24 cents.
All right. Sorry, Mr. Shaw, you had some comments?
Yeah, Mr. Yonner, any sense of why the processing costs have increased so significantly over the last 2 years?
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the Asian markets buying materials from the
Yeah.
recycling processors. I think that has a lot to do with it. They are not buying as much material as they did in the past, so the demand is down, and when the demand goes down, naturally the pricing goes down as well.
Yeah.
So I think it is a supply and demand type of feature with the Asian markets. Now, this could change too, and it could reverse course. And one of the things I put in our proposal letters, if it does do that, we'll come back and renegotiate with you folks a price rate adjustment to go backwards, decrease.
Okay.
We can do that. And there are times when rebates are actually paid too. Honestly, 3 or 4 years ago, we were actually getting paid to deliver this material. how we're paying to have the material processed.
Yeah.
Buffalo has been highly reliable, just based some experience, knowledge happening out in eastern Pennsylvania. Some of the recycling processing costs are here $100 per ton. So Buffalo's been very, very solid and very upfront with this, and I think willing to negotiate. And certainly, anytime the township officials would like to visit the facility, certainly make arrangements to get you there and show you what they do every day.
Ed, is that the only facility that Advance deals with? I'm going to assume there's other facilities
Yes.
in the tri-state, five-state
Yeah,
area,
we're
whatever
using
your
quite a
coverage.
few. In fact, one of the operations I'm using quite a bit is the Lycoming County Solid Waste Authority of Williamsport.
Yes.
It's kind of in close proximity to one of our other locations, and their rate is actually the same as Buffalo Recycling, which is
Okay.
good news for our residents in that part of the country,
Yeah.
because it's a very solid number. As we head east and southeast, the numbers are starkly different. I mean, they're up
Okay.
in the 80s, 90s, and even $100 ranges.
Okay, now, are they taking, those other facilities, do they take the same recycle that the Buffalo location does?
Most of them are limiting all of the glass and eliminating
Okay.
the glass period.
Okay.
So we're still accepting glass at Buffalo. Many of them are also limiting the number of plastics that they're receiving. They're going back to the more traditional number 1 and number 2 plastics, HDPE and PET plastics, and avoiding all the other ones, where
Yeah.
right now we're still holding up really well.
Yeah, I think you can see where I'm leading on this. I'm thinking, okay, if looking at a price increase, but, and there's the big but that goes with it, what if the Buffalo location says, hey, we're not going to take any more glass or plastics of certain numbers, you know? Then what? Because, you know,
That's a great
because then we've increased the price, if that is the board action. I'm not saying anything by no means, but that means the price would be increased, and yet the service is going to be decreased should Buffalo decide no longer to take it. Because are they contractually obligated to take that?
No, they're not. No,
Okay.
They have flexibility to add or subtract things.
Right.
If we get to that point and we see a material difference, you know, in the amount of material we're receiving at the curb, what we would want to do is come back, renegotiate with you a new
Okay.
number, because basically what will happen is our solid waste number will go up
Okay,
and our recycling will go down.
okay,
And that will have a little bit of a counterbalance, so it may actually save the residents some money, it might actually break even, but as recycling goes down, solid waste will go up.
right. So it's like the price of copper, you know, the scrap copper, you know, it's kind of up seasonally, and then, you know, summertime it goes down a little bit, so.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's,
Okay.
I don't want anybody to think I would be here every month requesting an
Well,
adjustment, but
yeah,
I could come back twice a year, and this is, I think, is my first trip in front of the council since we've had the
yeah,
contract that I remember, but I would be happy to come back as often as necessary
Okay.
and discuss future adjustments, or if you feel
Okay.
that, anytime you are ready to get together, I'll always
Okay.
be happy to do that, to discuss those, modify
Okay.
those things.
okay. Any other questions, comments from the board?
Well, I just want to stress for the public's benefit that our contract with you states that the contractor price is the price for the life of the contract. So this has to be a mutually agreed to increase. And Ed, I guess the hesitancy I have with granting this request, at least today, is when those bids are put in, it's really up to the bidder to kind of project out what they anticipate the cost of that service to be. So I'm not particularly comfortable with Millcreek residents shouldering what looks like 2/3 of the increased costs at this point. We'll have discussions as a board in executive session probably.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'd be comfortable with that much of a share of the residents taking on. But thank you for the information, and obviously we understand
Absolutely.
the business you're trying to run and your needs for covering
I'm open for
expenses.
discussion on that, you know, wherever we want to go with it, we can certainly do that, so thanks for the open mind, and,
Okay.
yes, if we could get together again and discuss it, I'd love to do that.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Okay.
No, I just appreciate Ed coming in and being, you know, upfront with what you're facing,
Understand the
and
dilemma,
will bear a little more discussion here to
Okay.
make sure we're,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening.
Okay.
Well, Ed, I do have one question for you.
Yes.
Mr. Groh touched on it. Millcreek is now the only municipality in Erie County, I believe, that's still collecting glass as recyclable. What do you attribute that to? That only this Buffalo location is still collecting glass? Are they doing something different with their processing, or are they utilizing some different
Well, at this
customer
point,
base?
Buffalo actually still has a use for glass. So they're
Yeah.
finding an option, an alternative use. And really, from that regard, it's reused. It may not always be recycled, but it's reused for another purpose.
Mm.
And it takes a lot of effort to get it there, but they're still able to do it. They still have a good opportunity to handle it that way, whereas others may not be able to handle it. And it is a very expensive commodity to handle. It has to be in pristine shape to recycle.
Yeah.
Color sorted, unbroken, and it is hard to keep it in that condition if we pick it up single stream. So it makes it so hard.
This just reminds us how important it is about recycling, but also when we purchase, what we need to make sure of, that what's is going to be used as in a second life,
Yeah.
And this was a concern back 30 years ago when recycling was just starting to become something everybody was doing. And it's like, what are we going to do when we run out of place for this, or there's no longer a use for recycled material, and the markets are down, so.
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't
Okay.
agree more.
Okay, so I'm going to assume we have no official action on this, it's just a presentation from Mr. Yonner, so anything
Yeah.
else, then I think we're all done,
I
unless there's other
appreciate it.
questions, okay?
Any other questions for me?
Okay.
With your permission, I'll follow up with some appointments with Judy and her staff.
Okay, yeah,
We can talk about this further. That would be
okay.
wonderful.
Okay, just one point here, Ms. French, you have any questions or comments? I know you're on the environmental committee at the McDowell High School. I don't mean to put her on the spot, but this is right in her wheelhouse.
How the glass is more difficult to recycle, and it is
Yeah.
pretty amazing, that
Okay.
we do recycle glass in Millcreek,
Okay.
because in a lot of other places, like everywhere else, they don't recycle glass, because it's so, the only reason is because it's expensive and difficult.
Right,
Like, if
okay.
that's what you're asking, but
Yeah.
that's the truth, it's
Right,
just
yeah.
expensive.
Okay,
So that's awesome, I
Yeah.
think.
Thanks
yeah,
for the question.
I just want to get her comments on that there too, so,
Thank you.
okay. Thank you, Ed,
for your
appreciate your
comment.
comments.
Appreciate it greatly.
Yep. Okay. Our next item is item number 9, non-substantial amendment to the approved land development plan for 1359 Marshall Drive. Benjamin Leopold is a developer. Mr. Waldinger. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Mr. Leopold has requested an addition on his building of 20 square feet, or I'm sorry, a 20-foot addition, 840 square feet total. It meets the requirements for a non-substantial amendment for a land development. We do have the certification of the township engineer that it meets those requirements. He would still be required to fulfill any requirements as far as stormwater management. So it is my recommendation that the township grant this non-substantial amendment to his land development plan.
Okay. Any questions or comments among the board?
Mr. Waldinger, so I'm sure that the motion would be to
Approve the non-substantial amendment to the land development plan for Benjamin D. Leopold, showing an 840 square foot addition to his existing building.
move
Okay.
to approve the non-substantial amendment.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes?
And I also vote yes on that. Okay. Item number 10, the referral to the Planning Commission, a review of the R2 zoning requirements.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Waldinger.
Recently, in reviewing the zoning ordinance, it's come to light that there was a change made in the past. Typically, the township has always required that a lot for an R2, which is a duplex, be a minimum of 80 feet in width and 120 feet in depth, 9,600 square feet. There was a change in previous edits of the ordinance, and that number was included in a chart, and instead of the chart reading per lot, it read per unit, which essentially doubled the requirements that the township previously had.
Okay.
So it would be the suggestion that to our, or of our office, that we refer to the Planning Commission to look at that ordinance and see if there was something that we could do to clarify to ensure that the 80 by 120 feet per lot standard is what's referred to in the ordinance.
Okay, so strictly for their review and recommendation back to
Back
us
to the
to
board,
act on,
correct.
one way or
Yep.
another, okay? So the question at hand is referral to the planning commission. Do I hear a motion to,
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, I did look at the history of the ordinance in that language and was not able to find any basis as to why it said unit versus lot. So it may very well have been a Scrivener error, and they just didn't think about it at the time they put it together.
okay? Okay, then.
I'll move to refer the R2 zoning requirements to the planning commission for review.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes?
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 11, ordinance 2019-4, an ordinance of Millcreek Township establishing an intermunicipal agreement with Township of Fairview for joint operations of the Milford Compost and Recycling Center. Mr. Shaw.
Yes, Section 1507 of the Second-Class Township Code gives the supervisors the authority to enter into an agreement with other municipalities in performing governmental functions and in carrying out the provisions of the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Cooperation Law. Under that law, municipalities are similarly authorized to enter into joint agreements and are similarly required to pass an ordinance reflecting that. And the state law also provides what should be included in the ordinance. This proposed ordinance is intended to authorize an agreement between Fairview Township and Millcreek Township regarding the operation of the Millfair Compost and Recycling Center located on Millfair Road in Millcreek Township. And in accordance with the requirements of the state law, the ordinance provides for the conditions of the agreement, its term, its purpose and objectives, the financial arrangements, the organizational structure, and how operations are to be jointly managed. Essentially, under the agreement, the municipalities will equally split manning, maintaining, and operating the facility. There are also provisions governing the expenses, revenue, and equipment maintenance, and each municipality is responsible for the costs of its own employees at the facility, and the term of the agreement is 5 years with renewable terms. So I think the recommendation would be is to approve this ordinance. And then thereafter, we would also need an approval of the agreement with authorization to execute it after the ordinance becomes effective, which would be in 5 days, assuming the ordinance is passed today. And it is my understanding that Fairview has already approved an ordinance and agreement in relation to this.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board regarding the ordinance? Okay, do I hear a motion on the ordinance first?
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2019-4.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, that's in regard to the ordinance. And then the next portion is the intermunicipal agreement for the operation of the center with Fairview Township. And of course, you indicated that Fairview has already accepted that and
Yes.
approved it? Okay. Any questions or comments regarding the agreement? Being done, I'll call for a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve the intermunicipal agreement with Fairview.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Thank you. Our next item is item number 13. A resolution pursuant to Resolution 2015 R20, Municipal Records Manual to approve the disposal of certain township records. Mr. Zaheski, you have comments on that?
This is the typical deleting of dash cam videos for the police department for the, once they've reached their expiration period, for the period from this meeting to the next meeting of the 26th of March.
Okay.
It's a routine, but we've got to disclose that we're disposing of those.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Assuming none, we'll call for a motion on that.
I'll move to approve resolution 2019 R14.
Do I hear a second on that?
I will second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 14, Resolution 2019 R15, a resolution authorizing the Lester Lane Lawndale Sewer Project. Mr. Shaw, you have information on this one?
Yes, this is the first sewer development proposed since the township assumed control of the sewer system from the Sewer Authority. Under Section 2501 of the Second-Class Township Code, the township is authorized to establish and construct sewer systems. In addition, Section 2506 of the code allows the township to charge the cost of that construction against the properties benefited by the system. And Section 2508 allows two methods of assessment. One is to assess the cost in proportion to the property frontage, and the other is to assess the cost equally allocated among the properties that would abut the system. The recommendation for this project is that its cost be assessed equally allocated upon the properties abutting the project. And this resolution authorizes that method and the construction of the project. Currently, the project is estimated to cost $301,407, which equates to a per property assessment of $18,212.63, plus there is a connection fee of $2,015.54 for those properties that are not otherwise connected to the existing sewer system.
Okay.
I think the recommendation is to approve this resolution.
Okay. Any questions or comments? No, this is our first one, as you've indicated, since the dissolution of the sewer authority. So-
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Without any questions or comments, we'll move to a motion on that. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move to approve Resolution 2019 R15.
Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, item number 2019, or item 15, or it's the resolution 2019 R16, resolution authorized for the exoneration of taxes against mobile homes deemed by Erie County Bureau of Assessment have being removed or damaged to an extent rendering them worthless. Mr. Jaheski, you have that information.
Yes, this is a routine request from the county to remove these properties from the tax records. We will be exonerating $3,669.89 in back property taxes. The reason for the size of the exoneration is some of these go back multiple years.
Okay.
One of the properties goes back to 2011. That was for $1344.70. And the other one goes back how far? Yeah, not quite as far. It goes back to 2014. Because there are no longer trailers on these parcels. That's the reason for taking them from the records, because
Yeah,
it's just open land at this point.
right.
I'm actually just asking, the purpose of this is there's potential buyers that would actually purchase these properties.
At some point in time, they go into the bank and they are available for sale if a buyer wants to come and put a bid into the county.
Right. Okay. Okay, any other questions or comments? Being none, I'll entertain a motion on this action here.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2019 R16.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes, too. Item number 16 on the agenda is Resolution 2019 R17, a resolution to authorize the Township Treasurer to apply and open new bank accounts with the Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust Fund, also known as PLGIT, for liquid fuels funds and for the performance and surety bond funds. Mr. Jaheski, back to you again.
Yes, in reviewing our banking situation, it came to light that PLGIT is offering better rates for on their accounts. We're earning 1.1% on the PNC performance and surety bond account and 0.38% on the liquid fuels. We can earn around 2.57% with PLGIT on both of those accounts. It's especially important for the liquid fuels because any interest that we earn is also spendable for the road paving project that would be covered by liquid fuels. So higher yield is important.
Yes. Okay. Questions or comments from the board? Being none, I'll entertain a motion on this.
I'll move to approve Resolution 2019-R17.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 17, emergency management designation for Caleb Dixon, emergency management coordinator. Mr. Bach.
Okay. I don't see any paperwork on this, but
Okay.
do you have anything? Okay. This is just an approval request to designate Caleb Dixon as our emergency management coordinator. This is a requirement, I believe, by the state. Filters down here. Caleb's our chief code enforcement officer, and he had been serving as a deputy emergency management coordinator as well. So this just formalizes on paper the township designating him as our emergency management coordinator.
Okay, any questions or comments? Being none, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve Caleb Dixon as our EMC.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I will second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 18, traffic signal preemption contract award. I'll handle this one here, if you don't mind. Of course, this message comes from me, overseeing the Public Works Department. Attaches pertinent information regarding the bid through the Erie Area Council of Governments for the joint purchase of traffic preemption devices for selected signals within Millcreek and Summit Townships. The total cost for the joint project is $94,865, with grant support from EGRA, Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority, to paying for half the cost. Millcreek's portion of the project commitment is $59,430, and with the EGRA grant, the final cost will be $29,715, which is a budgeted item here for Millcreek Township budget for this year. Summit Township has already approved their portion of this project, so my recommendation is that we award the project to Emergency Traffic Systems in the amount of $29,715. Any questions or comments from the board? Mr. Morgan?
Mr. Gray, I just want to say I know we have a difference of opinion on this project.
Yes.
I understand the board's intention to fund the project. I just want to restate my position on it, that I worked in transportation planning for about a decade, and I just don't believe that our metro area has the traffic volumes or population that warrants a preemption system.
Okay.
If we did warrant a preemption system, preemption is typically only installed on major routes, not on every single signal in a community.
Okay.
And if we were to install a preemption, we should be using the industry standard, which is a GPS-based model, not this radio system, which is not utilized by any other community really in the world. So
Okay.
that's my position on it.
I understand your concerns there. Okay. Mr. Bach, any comments, questions?
No, I mean, my only comment is I'm very thankful we got the grant, which
Yes.
Does cover half the cost of this project, so.
For sure. And it's a joint effort between two townships, adjoining municipalities, and anytime where we can work in a coordinated effort, that's always good. We saw that earlier with the resolution regarding Fairview Township, which is an ongoing matter regarding the recycling center. So our efforts to work with other municipalities, whenever we can, we will. So with that said, I'll call for a motion on that contract approval. Here.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Emergency Traffic Systems of Erie.
Okay. Do I hear a second on that? Do I hear a second on that? Being none, I'll make the second on that. Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote no.
And I vote yes. Motion carries 2-1. Moving on to item number 19, financial security release request from the Grace Slavic Pentecostal Church, and that they are the developer. Mr. Waldinger.
Yes, thank you. We received a request from the Grace Slavic Pentecostal Church to release their financial security for the addition project that they submitted to the township. We currently hold a security, a letter of credit in the amount of $37,951.10. Upon review of the project, it was discovered that the church has chosen not to build the addition at this time. They have completed the majority of the required improvements as far as stormwater management. They've installed their ponds, they've installed most of the piping system, but they have not installed the downspout leaders that are required that would have been built at the time of the building. As such, the required improvements are not 100% complete. So it is the written recommendation of Township Engineer Ann Sokol that the township deny the request for full release, but she suggests that the township could allow a reduction to 10% of the original security. So it would be my recommendation that the board deny the request for release and approve a reduction of PNC Bank, I'm sorry, they gave us a cash escrow. PNC Bank cashier's check 1741098, reduced from the current amount of $37,951.10 to a new total of $3,795.11.
Okay. And of course, you said that's a recommendation of the engineering department.
Correct.
Okay. Questions or comments among the board?
I have a question, Matt.
Yes.
So if the 379511 is approved, does that then close out the process, or?
No, it cannot be closed out because they haven't completed and installed those downspout leaders. The $3,700 would be enough financial security to ensure the completion of those if they needed to be, and we can't let it go any further below that because that's 10% of the original amount.
Okay, and then once the project's completed, we would release the remaining
Yeah. Completed and approved, yes.
34 and change?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So your recommendation is to deny their request for complete release, but allow the release except for 10%.
The reduction, yeah, the
reduction
reduction
down
to
to-
10% of the original.
And what is that number again, just for the record?
$3,795.11.
11 cents. So that's what it would be reduced to. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Any comments or questions among the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the financial security release request as presented by Mr. Waldinger.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 20 is a stormwater maintenance plan and agreement request from Community Country Day School, and they are the developer. Mr. Waldinger.
Unfortunately, Community Country Day School was unable to provide us with the properly notarized and signed documents, so I recommend that this item be withdrawn at this time.
Withdraw it and put it on another agenda when
On a
those
future
documents-
agenda, once
Okay.
we receive the proper
Okay.
documentation.
Okay.
Mr. Shaw, just parliamentary procedure, should we table this action, or was it a request to withdraw, Mr. Waldinger?
No, they just did not provide the correct documents for us to approve.
I think I would probably table it.
Table?
All
Okay.
right, I move to table item 20.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Mr. Morgan?
I
How do
vote
you vote?
yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Item number 21 is sidewalk deferral agreement request from Pat Clicker for a property at 500 Indiana Drive. Mr. Waldinger, once again.
Thank you. Yes, we've received a request from the owner of 500 Indiana Drive for a sidewalk deferral. They're building a new home on that property. Looking at Indiana Drive, there are no other sidewalks in that area on either side of the street.
Okay.
So it's our recommendation that we approve the deferral at this time, and a reminder that the deferral does not excuse them from having to build the sidewalks, just defers that
Yeah,
to a future.
until other sidewalks are built in that
Correct.
area. Okay. Okay, questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the sidewalk deferral request for 500 Indiana Drive.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Item number 22, Millcreek Township Sewer Authority approvals for the Norfolk Southern Railway Company assignment agreements. Mr. Shaw.
Yes, we have 5 agreements from Norfolk Southern relating to the assignment of the 5 licenses that it holds with the Sewer Authority. This is all part of the transaction of transferring all of the Sewer Authority's assets to the township. If you recall, Norfolk Southern had agreed to complete this assignment for $750 in total, which has been paid. They have sent to us agreements, separate agreements covering each of the 5 licenses, and I reviewed the agreements. They're kind of basic assignment agreements. The Sewer Authority has already executed these documents, and I would recommend that each of the agreements be approved and by the board and executed by the chairman.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Does this become typical pretty much every meeting once we get everything all cleaned up?
Yeah, we have, I think we have 2 agreements left that are pending. There's one license from one of the railroads that we're waiting to hear back from. There's another intermunicipal agreement that had been executed by the authority that needs to be amended. And in fact, I just within the last day or so heard back from their council, and we'll be moving forward in getting that agreement amended. So we're getting close to having all the various agreements and so forth completed for the complete transfer.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the board? Okay. There being none, a call for a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve the Norfolk Southern Railway Company assignment agreements.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Item number 23, February Building Construction Report. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. Yes, in the month of February, we had 1 permit for a duplex and 5 permits for either additions or accessory structures. Or, I'm sorry, 4 permits for additions or accessory structures for a total of 5 zoning permits issued with a total new construction value of $273,796.50. That generated permit fees of $1,200 for the Planning and Development Office. If anyone would like a copy of this report, it will be available later today on the website, and a hard copy will be available in the Planning and Development Office.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Item number 24 is communications. Mark Jaski, anything from the treasurer?
Nothing further.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, do you have anything?
We have a training request from the Planning and Development Department. Mr. Waldinger.
Thank you. I have a request to send Matthew Puz Jr. in his role as the floodplain administrator to a training course titled Advanced Floodplain Management in Pennsylvania. This course is being held multiple places in Pennsylvania. The closest place to Millcreek Township is in Towanda, Pennsylvania, on Wednesday, May 15th. The class is free and includes continental breakfast and lunch for Mr. Puz, but since Towanda, Pennsylvania is about approximately 4 hours from Erie and the class begins at 8:30 in the morning, we requested that Mr. Puz have a hotel room for the evening before. He would travel up Tuesday, May 14th and return following the class on May 15th.
Yeah.
So we'd like to request that he be permitted to attend. The approximate cost of the hotel stay is $153, and per diem for meals while traveling is requested as well. This is directly related to Mr. Puz's responsibilities as floodplain administrator, and we do have sufficient funds in the planning and development travel expense budget.
Right. Okay. Questions, comments?
I'll make a motion to approve the request.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay.
Mr. Gore, we also have hiring requests from the Public Works Department
Yes.
/HR.
Okay.
Mr. Snyder, would you like to address those, or would you like me to brief those? We had 4 vacancies in the Public Works Department we're looking to fill. Diane Lyons, Gary Snyder, and Sean Kern performed interviews, and these are their recommendations to fill in these.
The conference center. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yep.
Whenever you're ready.
I'm sorry.
The first hire would be Christian Maggie in the streets maintenance labor as a street maintenance laborer at the contractor rate of $19.85 per hour, with a hire date of March 18th. The next would be another streets maintenance laborer, would be Mr. Stephen Barge at the same contractor rate of $19.85 per hour, with a start date of March 25th. And our sewer maintenance bureau would be Samuel Camara at a starting rate for the contract of $19.85, starting on March 18th. And also in sewer maintenance bureau will be Clayton Cifelli at a rate of $19.85 per hour per the contract, with a starting date of March 18th, 2019. I would move to approve those 4 hires.
Okay. Do I hear a second on that?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes on
And I
that.
guess just to clarify, those would be to fill vacancies, the full complement remain the same.
Right, yes, yeah, thanks for clarifying that. And I do apologize for interrupting your talking there. Anything else you got there, John?
That's all I have on the
Okay.
agenda. I do have one item regarding EMTA, but I can bring that up at the end of the meeting.
Okay, that sounds good there. Okay, thank you. Let's see, I've got, we had executive sessions with our legal counsel on February the 28th, March the 5th, March the 7th, and March the 8th. There was real estate discussions and some other legal matters that were discussed. I'd like to also bring up one other thing here. Of course, it's that time of year where the weather's changing, and of course, the roads are changing, and we've had the calls coming in regarding the potholes and the street conditions, and folks, we are very much aware of that. We have, I believe, 3 crews out patching right now. Is that correct, Mr. Snyder?
Correct.
Okay, so we're out there patching them as much as we can get out there. I know there's a lot of them, and we have 210 miles of township-maintained roads, and it seems like every road has a few potholes on it. And that's not to even mention the, 45 miles of state-maintained roads. So please, I ask you to be patient. Remember that we ride on these same roads too. We do know the conditions, and you know, when we see them, we call them in too. So I just ask, and I think I speak for the board and our streets department. Please be patient with us, and when you see a patching crew out there, please be careful. Watch, make sure we don't want anybody getting hurt out there while they're out there doing their job patching the streets. So I just wanted to bring that up there. And of course, if you need one, there's something that's really bad, give us a call, shoot us an email, and like I said, please be patient with us. So that's all I have there. Jim, you have anything?
Okay. Yes, John, thank you. I have a request to approve up to 8 individuals to attend the ICADO Annual Firemen's Conference Dinner in McCain, $30 per person. This is the annual dinner that ICADO puts on to honor the volunteer firemen for their duties throughout the year. I attended last year. It was a good event. I believe we've had 6 RSVPs already this year, so we're looking to send approximately 8 would be approval for the supervisors as well as the fire chiefs from the various departments. So I'd like to put that in the form of a motion to approve that expenditure.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Okay, and the second request is for approval to attend the Erie County Firefighters Association Public Safety Awards Banquet at Perry Highway. This is another awards dinner countywide on April 13th of this year. Tickets are $17 per person. I believe, John, are you attending this?
I believe I am, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Just be approval for you to attend, I believe, at this time.
Oh, okay. Okay, that,
Yep.
okay. Do I hear a motion? Is that a motion on that?
I'll make a motion on
Do I hear a
that.
second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay, anything else, Mr. Bach?
Yeah, I have 3 training requests from Police Chief Scott Height.
Okay.
Get my screen up here. He's requesting for Patrolmans Drzowski, Weschler, and Nigel to be promoted, actually, to Class D patrolman due to the fact they have completed their probationary employment period. So this would just be a standard next step for their careers. They have completed their probationary period and have all done so in good standing. So he's requesting that those officers be elevated to Class D patrolman as of March 5th, 2019. I'll make a motion to that regard.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
Vote yes.
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Just to clarify, that's actually per the contract, that promotion is a
Yep.
contractual obligation, so.
Thank you, John. You're correct.
Okay.
Okay, and we have a training request from Chief Height for Lieutenants Kaczynski and Mitchell, and also for the chief to attend a practical skills for effective leadership training on April 25th and 26th in Pittsburgh. The estimated costs are $1,190 for registration, lodging, and per diem and fuel costs. I'm assuming transportation will be by department vehicle. And also one more request for Detective Green and Patrolman Gotham to attend a tactical officer class being held at the Pennsylvania State Police Training Center in Meadville. No cost for that training, travel by department vehicle. I'll make a motion for both of those training requests.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. That's it? Anything
Okay.
else there, Jim? Or
We have the letter of intent.
Oh,
Did you want
okay.
to cover that, or you want me to?
No, you go ahead and cover that. there.
Okay.
Thanks. Yeah, I forgot.
This is a letter of intent through the COG. Several municipalities in Erie County are interested in convening a meeting to determine interest in working with DCED to study the feasibility of creating a joint emergency management agency. Several other municipalities have already submitted their letter of intent. We'd like to do the same, and this is just very preliminary, but just to enter into discussions with other municipalities regarding the concept of joint emergency management. So I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, do I hear a second on that?
Mr. Bach, there's no funding attached to this letter of intent, simply
That's correct,
indicating
John.
our interest in participating in the meeting.
Right.
Yes, that is correct, yes.
I'll second.
Okay. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes.
Actually, Mr. Shaw, that was not on our agenda. Should we have asked for public comment
Oh,
on
yeah.
that?
Yes, we should.
I'm sorry, we should have had public comment. Any comment on this letter of intent? There is no financial obligation on behalf of the township. It's just a letter of intent stating that we are interested in having a meeting with other municipalities regarding forming a joint municipal emergency management agency. So let the record state that there is no other comment from the public. Okay, thank you for reminding us there, John.
Sorry about that.
No problem there. Okay, anything else?
That's all I have.
Ms. Ranch, how about you?
So at McDowell, last week was the start of spring sports season, so that's the biggest thing happening at McDowell. This week actually, at the end of the week, speech and debate leaves for states, which Shane will be attending. And then talking about the environment, the environmental club, weather dependent, because you never know how Erie is going to do their weather. But we're going to do a trash pickup, I believe, around McDowell, March 22nd, which is a Saturday morning.
Okay.
So that will be fun, and Mr. Fuller will be there. So,
The principal?
Yeah.
Principal Brian Fuller?
yeah.
Okay,
So that's basically all that's happening in McDowell.
okay, that sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shaw, any comment?
Nothing further on my end.
Okay. Cheryl Williams, anything?
I'll speak loudly.
Okay.
For the month of February, we had 5 right-to-know requests. 2 were granted, 2 were denied, 1 was partially denied, for a total of 10 hours spent in preparation time.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Anything else? Nope.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I have one issue I'd like to bring up to the board. I apologize for not getting on the agenda in time. As you're aware, we received a request from EMTA to commit to funding the authority in the amount of $21,000 for 2019. Our last meeting, we requested information from EMTA before committing funds. We sent a letter to their board requesting specifically objective data to quantify the services provided to Millcreek Township, the number of Millcreek residents utilizing those services, the calculation of what the cost of those services are, a detailed justification for what an equitable municipal match would be, and we also asked them to confirm that they are requesting the same equitable match from all municipalities serviced by EMTA. That was what we submitted 2 weeks ago. We did receive correspondence back from EMTA, both from their board chair and their executive director. I know I think each of us also received some phone calls from their new board members. We certainly appreciate that communication. Unfortunately, gentlemen, none of the information we requested was provided to us by EMTA. The only information that was provided was a general listing of routes that pass through our township, not a calculation of the costs servicing our township, and also general information regarding their local match requirements. I had an opportunity to review that information, and I'd like to make a recommendation to the board today. Essentially, EMTA has a local match commitment in order to receive their state matching and federal matching grants. They need to have about $1,088,434 of local match requirements. What they did provide us was a breakdown of their 2018 local match. And as expected, a majority of the match is covered by the City of Erie and the County of Erie, which makes sense. They are the actual parties to the charter creating EMTA. They're obligated to provide a large portion of that match. EMTA also contracts with our 3 universities for private local match, leaving the balance of what they need to cover at $36,960. Their request would have Millcreek Township cover nearly 60% of that local match. Gentlemen, reviewing their routes, EMTA actually services 15 additional municipalities outside the City of Erie. Of those 15, 10 contribute no local match at all to EMTA. So gentlemen, what I would suggest, since EMTA has not provided us any kind of equitable calculation for what our share should be, I would suggest that we pay 1/15 of that gap that they've identified. So it'd be $36,960 is the total contribution they need to cover the difference from their charter members and private donations. 1/15 of that would be $2,464, which without any other information from EMTA, which what I would recommend would be an equitable contribution for Millcreek, and I would suggest that I recommend EMTA seek out funding from the other 10 municipalities that they service that contribute no local match at all. Happy to take any questions from the board.
So we're paying currently, or we were paying more than a fair share, is what you're saying. Is that
Yes,
a lot more than
we
a
were
fair
covering. We've been covering about 60% of that difference,
Okay.
and again, 10 other municipalities have contributed nothing
Okay.
and are receiving
Okay.
direct service.
Okay, and of course, you know, in our never-ending quest to be good, responsible stewards of our taxpayer dollars that we receive from Millcreek residents, we've got to do the right thing and make sure that it's fair and equitable for everybody. I understand the point here, yes. There are other ones that are not kicking in some cash, if you mind the expression. It would be nice if they approached, if the EMTA did approach those municipalities. Do you know, did they approach them, John?
They didn't offer any information to us that they had. We had asked for confirmation they had done so. We did not receive that. I'm basing that off of what they provided for 2018, which shows only 5 municipalities outside the City of Erie have contributed funds to EMTA, and of those 5, our contribution totals 60% of that total, which I don't believe is equitable for our township to be providing.
That's correct there, yes. Okay. Any comments, questions, Mr. Bach?
This is obviously an important service. The EMTA has been around a long time. They provide service to different employers here where, you know, employees ride the bus to work. We've heard from those folks. And so we definitely want to contribute toward EMTA, but the numbers speak for themselves, in my opinion. I appreciate John doing this research, and I believe this is an equitable calculation of our contribution to this, and I think it should be spread out equally amongst the municipalities.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Shaw, any comment from the legal end there?
No, I mean, I think,
Okay.
from my perspective, it sounds, you know,
Okay.
the supervisors have done their research.
Yep.
They've examined as much information as they've been given, and have come up with, but to me, on its face, it appears to be
Okay.
the only solution they could probably come up with
Okay.
to provide EMTA something.
Okay.
You know, there's a rational basis to it, and absent any further information or additional information from EMTA, I'm not sure what else the supervisors could do.
Okay. And Mr. Chehesky, any comments from the financial end? You're our treasurer, and, you know, from basic financial operations, what are you?
Well, we had allocated money in the budget, but, so any amount below that is acceptable.
Okay.
And it makes sense. You need a rational basis
Right.
for making a contribution.
Of course, yes. Okay. Okay, now, this is not on the agenda here, so we are going to have to open this up for public comment.
I'll make a motion if there's a second, then we'll accept public
Okay,
comment.
okay. Well, I hear a motion then, okay?
So, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we issue the letter of intent for local match as EMT requested.
Okay.
To the amount not to exceed $2,464 for 2019.
Okay, do I hear a second on that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
Oh, we need
Oh,
public
I'm sorry,
comment.
pardon me, I'm jumping ahead there. I do apologize for that, folks. Do we have any public comment regarding this matter? If so, if you would like to come forward and speak, feel free to do so. This is our first call for public comment.
And this would be for Millcreek providing a local match to EMTA.
Okay. Okay. Sir, would you like to come forward and speak, if you would? Please come to our podium and identify yourself, name and address.
Hello, Robert Petrovich from 4018 Zook Road.
Okay. Yes.
Millcreek. Do we have anybody representing Millcreek on as far as EMTA? I know everybody, this has been a contentious issue.
Yes.
And I know it's between Erie County and Erie.
Yes.
But do we have anybody speaking on behalf of Millcreek?
Nope.
No, the EMTA's charter is only between the county and the city. When the charter controversy came up a few years ago, we did communicate through the Erie MPO, which is a planning organization related to transportation planning. We did suggest creating a multi-municipal charter. At that time, the county and the city were not interested in pursuing that, so no municipality has a seat on the EMTA board besides the city of Erie. Only the city and the county appoint to that board.
Yes.
And you're comfortable with that?
Well, and that's part of our rationale for not fulfilling their entire request to us. Without, essentially, these local match contributions are donations from municipalities that aren't part of the charter. So that's how our calculation came up, was that there's a gap of about $36,000 in their local match commitment. They service 15 municipalities outside the city, so our calculation would be we'll pay 1/15 of that gap.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sir, thank
Thanks.
you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak on this matter? Okay, that's the first call. Is there anybody else that would like to speak? That's our second call. Okay, we'll call for the vote on this there. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Okay. Moving on. Citizens to be heard. That's the last item on the agenda. Okay, being none?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Snyder, I'm sorry, I completely forgot.
He's a citizen, I
He's a
believe.
citizen, too.
Good morning, gentlemen. Ms. Williams sent you an email early this morning. There was a training request sent to her last Thursday,
Yeah.
and somehow through our email system, she did not receive it until 7 o'clock this morning.
Oh.
So I realize this isn't on the agenda, but I am seeking permission to send Keith Lawson and myself to a Pennsylvania Rural Water class at the Ambassador Conference Center on April 10th. This is for continuing education hours for our sewer licenses. The cycle ends at September 2019. We will receive 6 contact hours. The cost is $95 each, and the class runs from 8 a.m. till 3:30 p.m., and travel would be with the township vehicle. I'm seeking permission for both of us to attend that class.
Okay. Okay. We'll hear a motion on that, and we'll have public comment.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any public comment on this, since this was not an agenda item? Okay. Being none, call for the vote. Mr. Morgan, how do you vote?
How about yes?
Mr. Bach, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
And I also vote yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yep. Okay, now we'll call for an adjournment. Time is 10:40 a.m. We hear a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Okay. We had citizens to be heard. Yeah. Okay. Okay, motion and second? Okay.
I'll second that.